Hey there. Before we get into this episode, I want to let you know that I'm going to be hosting a free 2-hour virtual workshop called Becoming Your Most Favorite Version of You, where we're going to be prepping to walk into 2025 as our most radiant favorite versions of ourselves. We're going to get rid of the shitty thoughts that are holding us back, figure out what we want most in the upcoming year, and embrace who we truly are so that we'll head into 2025 feeling inspired and confident and have a much more fun and fulfilling year. So Becoming Your Most Favorite Version of You, it's happening live through Zoom on Sunday, December 1st, the night of the new moon in Sagittarius, perfect for new beginnings. And you can learn more and register through the link in the show notes. Hey there, and welcome to the Hey Kahla Podcast. I am your host, Kayla Evans, and I got so many comments and questions about the last podcast episode. It's called Do You Even Work? It's a little cheeky. If you haven't listened to it yet, I'm going to link it below if you missed it. That I thought I would do a part 2, which digs a little bit deeper. Because in that episode, I talked about working and living in a way that feels really good for you and in a way that makes you happiest. And I talked a little bit about feminine and masculine energies. And I talked about how being in a more soft, intuitive flow in my own life, living in a more feminine way as opposed to a more masculine way, has just led to leaps and bounds of goodness and happiness for me, that folks who responded were kind of equal parts confused about what that means. And then the other half wanting to know how they could live more in that flow or kind of dig in and discover for themselves. So to kind of really basically quick and easy, like simplify it, feminine and masculine, it doesn't have anything to do with your gender. Feminine energy is always about being intuitive and nurturing and open. Like, I like to think of it as like a warm hug or like a cozy chat with your mama or your bestie. And then on the other hand, masculine energy is more about action and structure and drive. And I like to think of it as like your inner superhero. You know, you're putting on the cape and you're going out there to tackle your tasks. You're getting it done. And here's the fun part. Like, both ways get things done, 100%. And everyone, regardless of how you identify, has both energies swirling inside of them. And we do need both to balance out our lives, right? Sometimes we need that soft touch of feminine energy. And then other times, you know, we need like that bold push of our masculine energy. And I do live most of my life these days in my feminine era, my feminine energy. And I think of it as aligning my choices and my decisions and my tasks and my life and myself with what feels best for me. And we hear the word authentic, just be authentic, thrown around all the time. Well, that's how I am authentic to myself. And that's what I think of when I hear authentic or when I say I'm being authentic. I am in flow with my soul, as woo as that sounds. I'm really in touch with who I am and what I want and how I want to do it. And I did touch on some of the characteristics of feminine energy in the last episode, but I did some more Googling and found some more of the big ones. And a lot of this stuff I learned from my own personal development journey, reading books, watching a lot of YouTube videos. But there's a ton of information out there if you want to do some Googling on your own. But here are just like the quick, really 5 things that stood out to me and the way that I kind of integrate them or use them. So number 1 is that you are in touch with your intuition. And this was the first one for me. When I say like I'm in touch with my soul, I always talk about finding your inner magic. To me, that's what this is. It's your soul, right? Your inner voice or your gut feeling that guides you. It's that nudge that's telling you, you know, choose this, take this path, even when logic says otherwise, even when your friends, your family, your partner says, nah, don't do that. Your gut is pulling you in a different direction. You go with your gut over what logic or what anyone else says. So that's huge. That's number 1. Number 2, and I think I mentioned this one in the last episode, you are in touch with your creativity, right? Feminine energy, it fuels our creative expression, whether that's art or writing or problem solving even. Yeah, problem solving or simply daydreaming. You're in touch with your creativity. Number 3, you are nurturing. And this is all about caring and supporting and fostering growth, which I think is so important. Like when I think back about some of the newsrooms I've worked on, some of the crews I've worked with, the managers or producers that have made the best impact, or I guess the biggest impact on me, and we've produced the best results together, they were really nurturing, right? They were caring, they were supportive. I've had other managers or other producers that were, ruled with an iron fist, yelled at people, made people cry, demanded results of people. And that really, in my experience, was not the best way to get the best results. So when you're in your feminine energy, right, you're nurturing. And whether that's to yourself or others, or even any project or idea you're working on. So I absolutely love that. Number 4, you're all about empathy and connection. 100%, right? This encourages us to connect deeply with others. You're understanding, you're compassionate. Again, you're caring. It kind of goes hand in hand with the nurturing. And then this aspect, which is another one of my favorite ones, fluidity and adaptability, right? Our feminine energy, it teaches us to be adaptable, which we need these days. Like, things are changing all the time. Look at the last several years. How many times did we have to pivot and adapt? And especially if you're pursuing a creative project, or you're a business owner, or you're doing something else that no one else has done before, like you're blazing that trail, right? Nobody else has done what you are doing in the way that you are doing it. You have to be adaptable, and you have to embrace change and try to be graceful rather than resistant of things. I mean, you don't have to be, you can do whatever you want, but it's a lot easier and it's a lot more fun when you're fluid and adaptable. And so with this list of the 5, I made some notes. And then when I thought back, I realized that, yeah, this is how I operate my business, right? I run my household. I take care of my health. I show up for my loved ones. My gut feelings guide my decision-making 100% with my business, with pretty much everything I do. I am creative with my projects and my problem solving. And I absolutely love that. I think a lot of times when we hear the word creativity or being creative, we think like, oh, I'm not a painter. I'm not a writer. I'm not a singer. Doesn't matter. You can be creative with anything you do, putting together an outfit in the morning, problem solving, your communication, right? You are, as a human being, creating things all the time. That means you are creative. For myself, I'm nurturing with my projects and my ideas, right? Not every idea is a winner. Nah, I've put out tons of things that have failed, but I don't shoot them down before I give them a chance, right? I nurture them. I'm really kind to my projects and ideas. I see them as an extension of myself because it's something that I've created from my heart and my soul, right? And my brain and my experience, but they are parts of me. So I'm nurturing towards my ideas and my projects. And I'm deeply connecting with others, right? Like, that's how I coach. That's how I get results for my clients. I connect with people. That's just being an empath. That's just being an introvert. Like, I want to deeply connect with other people. And then obviously I'm adaptable. Yeah. As a human being in 2024, and also as a business owner, like, you have to be adaptable. So when I look at that list, and if you want to give it another listen through again, I think that sounds and feels like a pretty good way to operate, right? So I was thinking, and I made another kind of like mental note here, a couple more tangible ways that I've worked this into my life recently that I think would be really helpful to share. Because again, it's not about being a girly girl or wearing a ton of pink and sitting on a lily pad being worshipped all the time. Although, yes, you can go that far. You can go to whatever level you want, 100%. I have some friends that they are fully in their feminine all the time, which is amazing. You can do whatever you want because, again, you have your own balance of feminine and masculine within you. And there are seasons where you can flow in between depending on what you need to get to where you're going, if that makes sense. Like, what are you pushing for? What are your goals? That's what you lean on. But for my daily life, it starts with something as simple as like, I'm getting dressed, right? You don't have to wear a dress. I hardly ever wear a dress outside of like my TV days when I had a stylist who put me in those pencil skirts, which I was so uncomfortable in. I hardly ever wear a dress, but I wear what feels good to me because, again, I'm in flow with my soul and my intuition. So for me on a daily basis, if you see me out and about, it's a band tee or a graphic tee and either ripped up shredded denim or leggings or stretch pants. Like, that's pretty much my daily uniform. It's what I feel comfortable in. It's what feels good to me. And when I'm feeling good and I'm in that high vibration, I'm going to do great work. That's the idea. I also work in a way that's super comforting to me. So I'm going to light a candle. I will usually have some sort of music playing in the background when I'm working. These days, it's usually some sort of subliminal audio that I'm playing. And I get mine from the Hey House app. I never recommend that you just grab subliminals off of YouTube because the audio, like if you're not familiar with what they are, the audio is played below an audible level. So you hear music and there are words there, but you don't hear the words, you just hear the music. But your subconscious hears the words, right? So it's played at a lower level, so it bypasses your conscious brain. It gets into your subconscious to rewire your beliefs. So don't just be grabbing anything off of YouTube because gosh only knows what people have programmed it with. Get your subliminals from a reputable source. I feel like I'm going to have that put on a t-shirt. Public service announcement right there. Get your subliminals from a reputable source. And again, I use the Hey House app for mine. Louise Hay. I love that app. I do pay for the full subscription. To me, it's well worth it. But you can also access subliminals on that app for free. And I did for many years before I actually pulled the trigger and paid for it. I also have blankets and I have a pillow behind my back. I have my beautiful crystals on my desk. And before I start working every day, I always pull an affirmation card from one of my decks. So I'm cozy. I'm cute. My desk is cute. I have a comforting beverage with me, tea. It's usually coffee. In the afternoon, a fizzy water in like a fancy glass. I try to make this experience as comforting and I guess luxurious to me as I can, because again, I want to be in my highest vibration possible to do my greatest work because I want to put my best work out there and help people. And I think that even if you work in a corporate job and in an office, and yes, I have the luxury of working from home. This is the number one thing I'm grateful for each and every single day. But I feel like even if you do go into an office, you can still wear clothes that make you feel good, right? Even if you got a dress code in place, you can still wear a bright lipstick if it makes you feel good. Right? You can wear bold accessories if it makes you feel good, or you can just wear head to toe black if that makes you feel good. You got to do what's best for you. And for your desk, you can have cute little desk accessories, and there's no reason why you couldn't have an affirmation deck and pull a card or have a crystal out there on your desk. Probably not a candle. Nah, like a lot of places are fragrance free and you really don't want to be having a mini bonfire at your desk for the most part. But frame pictures of your loved ones, anything like that. When I shoot video, you'll see on the wall behind me, there's a ton of papers and Post-its and quotes and affirmations and posters up there. I surround myself with things that inspire me all the time. And you can do the same. You're the one that's got to sit there for hours on end. So it should really be a space that makes you happy and puts you in a higher vibration. And then when it comes to my meals, like back in the day, I think I talked about this in a couple podcasts now, like my insane workout schedule. I lived and died by my food scale and that app, MyFitnessPal, like I was counting every single macro, every single everything. If it wasn't on the app or on my scale, like it did not go in my body. Like that just did not happen back then. But these days, I eat intuitively. I listen to what I want and I listen to what my body needs. And yes, meditation has gone a long way for me, really being in tune with my body, and yoga as well. I attribute being connected to my body a lot to yoga, and then just dancing around my house, like being in my body has just made a world of difference. But every week, like it's our routine. My dad and I do our Costco run together. Like you gotta, the buddy system in Costco. I don't understand folks who do it alone. You are brave or you're nuts. I don't know. I'm just kidding. You're probably brave. But we got to do the buddy system at Costco. I've never gone to Costco alone and I have no intention of ever. And I also never have an idea of what I want. We just walk in there and whatever looks or feels good to me at the time, that's what I get. So this week I got there and I just wanted soup. So I just felt it, right? I just knew it. So I bought that huge bag of broccoli, that huge bag of celery, and I'm making my chickpea broccoli soup, which makes, as I'm saying it, yeah, it does sound a little bit icky, but it's absolutely delightful. I love it. I will leave the recipe. I just got it off Pinterest. Most of my stuff comes from Pinterest. I'll leave it in the show notes if you want to check it out. It's so good. It is so hearty. It's so filling. It's so good this time of year. And then my cream of celery soup recipe. No, not my recipe, but again, off Pinterest. I absolutely love that one. I'll link that recipe as well. Just a side note on that one, I do swap out the heavy cream for the blend of cashew and almond milk because dairy is not my best pal most of the time. And it is just as good with a dairy alternative. So I'll leave those recipes below. But the point is, longest story longer, like I knew that that's what I wanted and what my body wanted. So that's what I went with. And I don't track anything anymore. I don't stress over anything anymore. And there have been times where I've just gotten that like $6 rotisserie chicken and I've just come home and eaten chicken on a plate, like on its own. Like that's all I had for dinner. It's about feeding your body in a way that feels good to you. And I feel like I should say, because again, internet and people are internety. I am not a nutritionist whatsoever. I just do what's best for me. You got to do what's best for you. I am not a professional giving food advice whatsoever, although those recipes are really good and you should give them a try if you love soup. And along with that, I'm also not a, what would you call it? Like a kinesiology specialist either. But the next point I'm going to make is moving your body in a way that feels good to you too. And again, Don't take medical advice from me. I'm just sharing my experience and what I love. I do walk the dog every single day because he needs it. Yeah. And it's part of my morning routine. I like getting that fresh air. I like clearing my mind. I always get my best ideas when I'm walking. But when I come back and it's time to work out, I work out at home. I really don't leave my house that often. My house is my gym, my library, pretty much my everything. I never really have a pre-decided schedule of what I'm doing. I used to have a weekly split, right? Like certain days were certain things. But now I really just do the same 3 things whenever I feel like it. So it's either yoga or I have a stationary bike, not a Peloton, not a Peloton. It's one of those like pedal, like body brake. Like I think the brand is actually Body Brake. I got it from my mama. I love this little thing. It's so fun. So I'll bike while I watch some YouTube videos, or I have a bunch of free weights that I'll lift. And even if it's a day where, I feel like lifting something really heavy, usually when I'm a little bit more frustrated and, feel the need to lift something heavy or maybe do a HIIT workout, I just pick what I'm doing kind of right then and there. And maybe you're gasping right now thinking like, oh Lord, like I could not live without some sort of plan. I could not live without some sort of schedule, routine, structure. Like I need to know what I'm doing. Yeah, I totally get that. And again, you got to do what's best for you. I do have kind of a rough idea of what I would do, but I don't decide until I'm in that moment because I want to stay truly in the flow of what my soul needs and what I need and what I want to do. And again, this may not work for everybody. It may not work for you, but if there's one big takeaway from this that I want to leave you with, it's that you have options. You always do. And yeah, sometimes it's hard to feel like you do. I felt like I had no choice or no options when, a few years ago, my alarm would go off super early in the morning hours. And I was, scheduled every minute of my life, pretty much from getting up till when I went to bed at 8 p.m. I felt like I had no choice and no options a lot of the time. But you really do. And the biggest option you have is to change things if something's not working. If you don't like something, you can always change it. And I feel like that truth is really polarizing and it really pisses people off. And it used to make me super uncomfortable at one time too. Like I was full of excuses in the beginning. And even in my very early, I would say my radio days, because it would have been the days at Tumblr, I had this quote from Tumblr screenshotted and saved in my phone. And it's just kind of always been with me. I'm sure you've heard it before. But the quote is, "What you aren't changing, you are choosing." And I was so uncomfortable with that for a long time. But the choice really is ours. And it's only up to us. Like our lives are only up to us. We can change our homes. We can change our jobs. We can change our careers. I mean, other than like our pets and our children, not much else in our life is locked in for good. If we don't like our health, if we don't like our routines, the way we're treating ourselves, that's a big one. The way we're treating others because we're unhappy with ourselves, like you always have a choice to change. And there's always different ways that you can live your life. And I know that. And I believe that, everybody can choose to live their life the way they want to choose to live it. At least where we are right here. If you're listening to this, I'm assuming you have an internet connection, a cell phone, a computer. You're probably pretty privileged and you probably have more than most people have. So you do have some choice, right? And if you've been stuck in a rut or maybe you've just been so hard on yourself, this is so common this time of year. Like the holidays like trigger so much. And that's definitely an episode for another day, or that's an episode maybe for a therapist to tackle. There's so much that comes up this time of year that it's really easy to be hard on ourselves, right? There's tons of things on display, how we're not living up to expectations. But if you're looking for a different way of doing things and you want to do things with a little bit more flow, that's where I'll come in. I'm going to run you through a few ways right now. So, and some of these I touched on the last episode, but they bear repeating because they're so important. Meditation and mindfulness, number 1, hands down, number 1. You don't even have to listen to anything. Just sit there quiet, and quieting your mind for even a few minutes a day makes a huge difference in tuning into yourself and listening to you and what you need or want most, right? Number 2, journaling. I will say this till the end of time. Because I'm a writer and that is my greatest form of self-expression and self-discovery is through writing. I love to write, but also it's such a great way to get your thoughts and feelings somewhere where you can see them. Because when you can see them, you can identify patterns and insights that your soul or your intuition is trying to convey. Or if you're journaling and it's the same freaking journal entry every single day for a year, like that's a pattern. You're not happy with your life, but you're also not choosing to change it. See where I'm going with that? Number 3 is to trust your gut. And this is a huge one for me. And you can start by doing small things, right? Trust your gut feelings in everyday decisions. And my favorite tip to give to clients is when you go to a restaurant, you're looking at the menu, just pick the first thing that stands out to you. Like the first thing. It's pretty low stake. I mean, if you hate it, don't order it again. Or maybe your friends will share with you. But that's how you can really get started on trusting like your literal gut in this instance, but your intuition, right? Go with the first thing, right? Even if you're doing some shopping and you're looking at a couple different options, yes, sometimes we have to do reviews. If you're buying like a huge electronic device or something really expensive, oh yeah, do your research for sure. But give yourself like a time limit on that research. Like don't be researching it for months, Or like when I'm renovating my house, let me tell you, paint colors. Yes, paint is not permanent. Yes, I can always paint over it, but give yourself a couple of options and then go with your gut feeling, right? Quick and easy, but start at the restaurant and then work your way up. Number 4 is to spend time in nature. It's incredible how many of us, especially this time of year, like, do we even go outside? Like if your garage is connected to your house, I guess when you walk from your car parking space at work to your office door, but is that the only outside you're getting? For a lot of us, yeah. And no shame there. But quieting your mind out in nature and connecting to nature and just looking around, like that is huge for your soul on so many levels. And again, I always get my best ideas or even work through problems while I'm out on a walk. And number 5, what do I have here? Oh, allowing time for creative pursuits. And this also opens you up to new ideas and perspectives. You don't have to create something to sell it or to put it out there into the world and get like accolades from it or people telling you how great you are. No, just do the things that light you up, right? And that can lead to inspiration in your personal and your professional life. Even those adult coloring books, like huge, like those got really popular. When was it? Like, I want to say in the pandemic, people started doing them. But anything like that, anything where you're being creative, even like when I'm standing in the kitchen and I'm making up songs for the dog while he's eating his dinner, just be creative, right? It's going to lead to inspiration. Number 6, and this kind of ties in with that. And I talk about this all the time, but they're actually like, there's studies behind these things. Trust me, you can Google it. Prioritize activities that nourish your soul. Yes, this is so important. Like these aren't just frivolous things. If you spend time doing the things you love, it's going to bring you a deeper sense of satisfaction and joy. You're going to be a happier human being. You're going to put better work out there. You're going to be nicer to your kids. You're going to be nicer to your partner. Like when you give back to yourself, like what's that saying? Like you can't pour from an empty cup. Like that's a cliche way of saying it, but it's so true. Like allow time for your creative pursuits, prioritize activities that nourish your soul. And then the third one, well, it's number 7 on my list, but like the third thing in a row, like nurture yourself and let yourself rest. Again, this isn't a luxury. Like this should just be a given. And in this day and age, it's not. And it hasn't been for a long time, but maybe, we're heading into 2025. We can start to turn the narrative around or even just turn the narrative around for yourself. Having this in your life, like rest and nurturing, will allow you to continue to move along life in a more balanced and sustainable way. And when I say when I try to say sustainable, do you know what I mean? I mean, like you're not burning out and crashing. We don't want that. A lot of us, like when we're in our super crazy hustle mode, yes, those times are needed, but you can't sustain that forever. You will crash and burn. So even in the busy times, get yourself that rest, nurture yourself, ask yourself, what do I need? So that's my list of 7. And again, you don't have to do things to the free-spirited flow that I do. It took me a long time to get here. And yeah, there are seasons where I definitely hustle hard, where I'm doing nothing but listening to Layla Hermosi. What's her slogan? F your mood, follow your plan. I think that's her slogan. She's awesome. She's got an awesome podcast. She's very hustly. She kicks ass. I love her. Her podcast is called Build It. I love it. It's one of my favorites. And there are times where, yes, you have to go hard. And there are times where, yes, I'm going for it. And I'm leaning heavily on my type A mother to help me out with things. And I've got a schedule, that doesn't leave a lot of wiggle room. And I'm a lot tougher than I normally am. But I would say like 90% of the time, I choose to live in flow. And I choose to live in, this more feminine flow. It's just what feels good to me. And it's just what works for me. And you can be somewhere in the middle, or, you could be way to the other side, like Layla Hermosi. And I can't really think of anybody else really tough love that I really listen to anymore. I do more so listen to like the Rebecca Campbells of the world and, and the Gabby Bernsteins. But, you can, wherever you fall on that spectrum, go wherever works for you. Again, the takeaway here is that you have a choice. You always do. And I hope that one day, if not today, but one day, you are brave enough to make the choice that serves you to live your life the way you want to. Like, that's what I want for you. And that's it. So if there's anything you want to add to this conversation, I am always on Instagram. You can DM me. I'm there at Hey Kahla. My email, if you want to send me a note, is info@heykahla.com. And another reminder, my free virtual workshop is coming up right away on Sunday, December 1st. It's called Becoming Your Most Favorite Version of You. It's soft, it's gentle, it's juicy. You're going to love it. I'm going to link it in the show notes if you want to check it out and join us. We are doing it on Sunday, December 1st, because that is the new moon in Sagittarius, and new moons are perfect for new beginnings. And I'm doing it free because my birthday is in December, and that's kind of my birthday gift to my wonderful community who has been so supportive of my work and this podcast. So it's just my gift to you. So if you want to join us, again, link is in the show notes. I've linked my soup recipes. I've linked episode 21, which is kind of the part one of this one. It's called Do You Even Work? And for anything and everything else, you can head to my website. That's just heykahla.com. And thank you so much for hanging out with me as always. And I hope you have the best week.